Hi everyone. As many of you know, Sridhar has completed 122 kilometers Silk Route in Ladakh, and all of you know how difficult and challenging this event is. And many experienced runners also try, and a lot of them have to DNF. It is nothing belittling their effort, but the point is the event is so challenging and it takes a lot of courage, lot of planning, and very precise calculation to do that. And of course, the dedication. So, idea behind this session is not only to congratulate Sridhar. Of course, he is worthy of all the congratulations and all the accolades. But the idea here is to understand from the perspective of a runner what all went through his mind, through physically, and because coach is going to interview him, we are not going to go too technical because I want this to be a journey of a runner rather than how we planned and what we did, and that's not important here, right? For all of you, I wanted to understand the effort he has put in, the dedication he has shown to do that, and understand the process. If you go through process, of course, you also will be able to achieve this. That's the bottom line for all this, to motivate you to attend not only 122, of course, any other challenging event you want to do. So here we go. So congratulations, Sridhar, for achieving this, and we will try to keep this less technical. We will try to make it more about your experience, your journey, than this training part of it. Yeah. So let's start.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you so much. And still in the state of belief that I've finished it and just coming over.
So let's start with baseline, right? When you started, what was your baseline in terms of your fitness levels, your health parameters? Where were you at that?
Still remember the first day, Coach, when I said, when you have decided to go through hell, let us practice going through hell on a regular basis so that you're ready on the day when you go through hell. So, talking about the baselines, yeah, I was never a speed runner, more an endurance enthusiast kind of stuff. I've done Kungla and Ladakh marathon last year, and then, like you said, you wanted to check on where I stand on speed because this race needs running as well in the first part of the race. I did a comfortable sub-4 marathon in this TMM this year, and then that was the base where I started to believe that I also can run slightly faster than what I can. Where I was slightly healthier, or on the healthier when I say putting on more weight. It was kind of 78 kind of a weight, and surprisingly, when I started this kind of this training, my VO2 max, Garmin's VO2 max was showing at 45, 46. And though in spite of running, a lot of people said Mumbai Marathon could be a cakewalk, but I really went through a lot of pain in finishing. Pain in the sense, speed was never part of it, but it took time to recover after a marathon at sub-4 pace. So yeah, that was the kind of situation I was in. I had put in a lot of weight and was kind of skeptical about how would this entire process go.
Yeah, so that started to sustain this grueling workouts which are going to come your way. We decided that we should first build the power, right? We try to translate whatever strength into some power and try to build in some type 2 muscles so that we can then fully concentrate on. And then started the grueling track sessions which you have never done in your life. So what was First of all, when I told you what was your thoughts and how all of that went, that's the second question. And did you think that actually helped you?
Initially, like when you said tracks, I was in an assumption that this could be some 16 kilometers of 20 kilometers of a run on a track which could go through easily. I still remember this days where 8 kilometers used to ask me to run in the speed that you wanted me to run, and 12-20 kilometer we'll see at a later part. पहले 10 kilometer करके दिखा, then we'll see talk about the distances. I always used to have this doubt, क्या चल रहा है? 20-25 kilometers was comfortably done, and 10 kilometers all of a sudden your workouts come down to 10 to 15 kilometers. There is always that doubt in my, there's always bugging 40-50 kilometers a week, and these interval workouts, mileages are not going, and I'm signed up was 122, and I don't know how it's going to help. But running on track was real fun. There's a lot of form correction that we went through. Like you knew what I was going through and my hand movements and body form. But at a later part, even today when I run a little faster, 5:30, 5:15, 5:20 paces, I feel comfortable. I feel a little easy to run that pace, and the body posture is completely different when I run SLR run and when I run a speed run. That kind of gives satisfaction that, there is some process coming in, and there is a lot of improvement that's happening. Only doubt throughout the process was exhaustion and mileage कम खा रहा हूँ. 30-40 kilometers क्या चल रहा है दिन हफ्ते में, which used to be my earlier Kungla daily mileages used to be 25-30 in the morning and 20 in the evening. Entire day 10-15 was always a doubt in my thing, like what am I going through, what have I signed up for initially, but then it was fun to run in tracks are real fun that I enjoyed.
Did you see that coming to your help actually in the race?
Absolutely. So the initial, I've done half marathon, full marathon, Kungla, all three formats of this in Leh Ladakh earlier. I was quite comfortable running the first 27 kilometers at a pre-decided pace. Like we'll come talk about the designated paces when we come to the end of this conversation. But that day, when compared to the other runners, I was comfortable. So that really helped. I realized when someone was speaking post-race, the other runners from Silk Route, when we were having a coffee and we were discussing, then I realized, okay, I had trained to run this part, and that's where it really helped.
Now, after 2 months of into the training, we changed your regular strength protocol, whatever you were used to for so many years, and I just changed it. We are not going to do this. We are going to change this completely. We are going to add something which you have never done, something which you're comfortable with. We just cut it off. So how did it help, and how did that specific city of the strength training?
Never trained in the evenings, especially so far in 6 years of my running. Most of my running used to be alternate days or strength training and then run after the strength or before the strength, run together kind of stuff. But this has been a complete different way of training. I used to run 6 days a week and alternating strength in the evening, and then alternating between strength and run in the evenings. Strength, especially specific to this particular course, or it helped. Yeah, I was comfortable. Other than few niggles, and Soleus gave up after 85 kilometers, and this was not anticipated, or maybe we could have trained a little more. I drive a lot, so that compromised whatever strength training. I drive at least 80 to 100 kilometers a day on a regular peak working season. So on a manual shift, and also brought in a lot of stress on my calves. In spite of that, addressing the needs of my mountain or hill running, whatever we incorporated really worked. Fatigue training is something that I've been going through for the last 6 months. I don't know. It really helped. On the race day, it worked miracles.
Workouts. This time we changed some of the workouts what you did in Do the Duo, right? But because the distance wise it is almost same, just 8 kilometers of difference, right? In Do the Duo and this. But we changed some of the workouts. When I told you that this is how we are going to do it and whatever comfortable you were, those workouts we just dropped. And we did workouts with running with weights and whatnot, right? Going up hills with weight, coming down hills with weight. So what was your experience of that? I want to talk about the experience of doing those workouts, right? How was it mentally tiring? Was it physically tiring? People were of course thinking that you are gone crazy doing all of those things.
So this was a complete different way of training because Kungla and full marathon were more about clocking mileages and fatigue training. In fact, this was more specific about certain things that I would like to specify. Weekdays used to be general mileages, clocking, run uphills and downhills kind of stuff. On Thursday, there was always an interval run. This is something that I never liked, or intervals is something that's never been part of my life until the Silk Road, or never took it so seriously. But running 20 kilometers with specific targeted timing, trying to maintain that entire 20 kilometers of run, to be consistent on every kilometer, the same thing that you started and you're going to end. It was something painful that I really did not enjoy in the process. Something that I liked was like few workouts on a weekly basis used to be with weights, like 6 kilos of backpack and you run uphill, downhill and then you run 20 kilometers. That's something I felt like an army chap running. So that when people in HSR used to see me running with these weights, like a jacket with 6 kilos or 8 kilos of weight, people used to wonder, and the kind of look that I used to enjoy that. People staring at me while I was running on the street. It helped me while climbing up the mountains, say after 27th kilometer till Kungla top. That really worked, and I was able to comfortably push myself in the entire course. This is something that was new to me, and I loved it.
So your fatigue, we will come to that in a bit. But before that last part in terms of your workouts, is at some point we cut down drastically your mileage, right? And 122 means there was a concept that you should at least run 100 kilometers, and you never ran more than 50 in one session.
55.
Yeah, 50, 55, right? Never more than that. So what was your thoughts at that time? You realized, am I doing something right, or you said that coach is gone crazy? The first is, what your thoughts that time, and how did it help you in the race?
Yeah, like coach said, I've never run more than 55 kilometers in the entire this window of 7 months of training. Each time initially when I started training for this, I had it in mind. Last year at least I did a 72 and 42 for my confidence, and coach supported that. But this year I was like, 100, 120 karna padega. Should I do a stadium run, or should I run to Kolar, or should all these thoughts were, I had planned stuff, but that plan never came into action. I was like, 55 kilometers is ज़्यादा mileage नहीं मिल रहा है. So how am I going to? That was always there, but at times you had explained on why and how, because that's not going to be in a single run that we have. In 48 hours, you made me run 135 kilometers. So that's equally insane. Yeah, that helped. So I texted you, if you remember, while I was running KC Silk Road. After 72 or 75 was my highest mileage so far in my entire career. So after 75 or 74, every kilometer was my longest distance. Garmin was like longest distance run so far. So everything was a record. So you achieve your Silk Route or not, but you've been achieving for next 30 kilometers or 40 kilometers. You're enjoying your process of achieving your best mileage ever recorded on your Garmin. So yeah, that was my first highest recorded 120 to 123 kilometers on the race day. So I initially had doubts, yeah, like anyone has, confidence के लिए 100 तो भाग लो. A lot of advices from friends, ultra runners came out with saying that you try to run one entire night, whatever mileage you can clock, 12 hours, 13 hours, 14 hours. But I thought someday you would come out with that kind of a workouts, but unfortunately, that never happened. Yeah, like I trust you in process.
So what was the overpowering emotion there, that you are happy that the mileages were cut, or you were worried? What was
So if you were coming on my WhatsApp or when we were discussing, I always had this doubt about the process, but well, execution is like, put that, it's only 55, not 100, and then again 22 in the evening. But yeah, they all worked wonders. Like that's the entire stuff that worked out on this interview.
So another thing, what you mentioned, and I said we will discuss that later. It's about because we were doing back-to-back workouts, right? We packed everything, so we increased the rest days, but we packed a lot of stuff together, and that fatigue was too much. So how you managed your rest and recovery, and did you do any special interventions for your recovery? Like any other massage therapy, water therapy, whatever, any other intervention?
Yeah, I initially planned for a lot of stuff. Recovery, I used to take power naps, sometime in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, especially at around 1:30. I used to have my lunch and take a complete off grid for half an hour. I used to sleep at work, or if possible at home, come back home and sleep. Some days used to be a little hectic at work. So what I used to do is I leave to my client's place and try to finish my lunch a little early, and then I sleep in my car, in my client's car parking or garage, push my seat behind and put everything on silent for half an hour and sleep, power naps. There were days where I slept on roadside, parking my car with AC and some music. At Martali traffic, service roads and traffic police used to wake me up, what's wrong, is everything fine? So it's like, I'm taking a power nap. So that used to help a lot, coach. Half an hour of power nap during the day really helped me recover much faster. And when it comes to deep tissue massages or all this stuff, in intervention, I used to more foam roll and stretch. I used recovery guns and few massage machines on my own. I used to manage with this normal stretch, and then evening after I come back, my daughter used to help me putting a lot of force on my foam roller, and then I used to foam roll, and some trigger points where I used to take my recovery gun and then release that muscle. Other than one or two dry needling sessions with my calf and around my calf, but not much of deep tissue releases. So Sundays used to be completely rest days. I used to not step out of my house most of my Sundays. I used to sleep. I sleep early, 9:30 kind of stuff, and wake up by 8:30. So which is 12 hours of solid sleep. And after lunch again, I used to sleep for 2 hours. I don't know, something came into me, and Sundays used to be like completely rest days. Towards the end of training, Saturdays were also like that. Unless there is a client meeting, I used to not step out of my house. He was also supportive enough not to have high demands of going out in the evenings on Saturdays, and they used to spend time with me. We order food at home, and we walk into a nearest restaurant nearby and come back and sleep by 9:30, 10 was like all lights off at home.
You just did some basic common sense things to manage your rest and recovery. So that's the point which actually I wanted to highlight into this, that's where I asked a question. So that even a grueling event like 122, if you use, if a runner uses his senses, common sense, and avoid doing extra work other than running and takes sleep seriously, you still can manage your recovery, right? So now coming to the next part of that is, of course, your nutrition, and I know you did your own nutrition. Maybe some suggestion I would have given, but that's about it. It's all your nutrition. I don't think you have gone to any nutritionist per se and taken any advice. So now after this, do you think you should have done that, add some very specific nutrition, or you're happy that everything works?
I think I'm very happy for whatever I've done, because I'm sure most of the nutritionists, sports nutritionists, should break down the nutrition into micronutrients and then speak of more technicalities. At some point of training, I was not in a position to think about micronutrients and all that stuff, because body was craving for more, and I maintain that protein intake and then micronutrient intake. That's part of my regular nutrition. My wife knows better than me now. She knows what has to be given, when has to be, what has to be fed, and what is my intake on throughout the week. So that that's taken care, and nothing specific, but I'm quite happy. Not much of muscle loss. For 6 months period, I've lost a lot of fat, but not muscle loss. So that way, I'm quite happy that whatever I tried, nothing like I skipped or specifically.
Additionally,
I did.
Using again the same thing, common sense. Like whatever you have learned over so many
over a period of
time about it. So
really
now coming to the acclimatization part, we have decided that 3 days no activity once you land there, and then next 3-4 days is very light 3 or 4 kilometers of run, maybe walk or run. Was that acclimatization sufficient, or now you think that you could have had a better acclimatization?
All these years of mountain, this is my third year in Ladakh. Like you advised, not much of exerting activities in the first 2 days. It was a casual walk to the nearby places and then come back and chit chat and relax for the rest of the day. That really helped. This not working out for a few days was really helpful, because whatever training that you've done in lowlands, when you go there, you're still new to the mountains. So keeping that in mind, they always say in Ladakh, don't be a Kama in the land of Lama. It really matters. And then we kept calm, not exerting ourselves, kind of stuff. You'll see a lot of people running there, crazy distances, 15, 20 kilometers on a daily basis, morning, evening, they run there. But I don't think it is a wise decision. You see a lot of people running, exerting themselves, and there the engine is running at a first gear and you're trying to be a Formula 1 car. Then I don't think that's advisable. And especially here for me, what had worked is what I generally practice in Ladakh last year and this year is try to be modest or walk, jog kind of stuff for first 3-4 days. Third day or fourth day, I go to South Kudu, which is like 13,500 feet compared to Leh. Spend an hour there, drink a tea, have some noodles there. Next day, we Kungla Top in a bus or a cab. Couple of us travel there, spend a solid 1 hour, not running or jogging. We just take photos. Because I plan to stay in Khartoum, which is 15,000 feet, the start point for Khartoum Rally Challenge. We stayed there for a night and 2 days. Me and another friend Dhananjay had come in. We stayed there. Morning, it was -1 degrees, and we started running at 5 o'clock. We were comfortable to an extent. We ran 4 kilometers because the altitude was slightly higher than Pangyongso, and then it was pretty cold in the morning. So then we decided to just take it easy and run only 4 kilometers. That was the only run that I've done in entire Leh trip. other than the actual race. Actual race, really
Good,
Sure.
good, good.
I'm happy.
So
Yeah.
now coming to the race strategy part, and we did solid good some couple of hours. You showed me some data point basis that there are a lot of data points which changed the strategy. You had earlier somebody suggesting you do it, some equal splits, etc. But we changed. So now, after completion of this, do you think we should have planned something? Did we miss something in that planning?
Because this is second edition of the race. When I started speaking to there are hardly 19 people, 21 people who have finished, and out of which 6 or 5 people were only reachable on Instagram and social media. Rest of them were either Ladakhi scouts or not reachable. But speaking to the previous team, they said split the race. This has got 22 hours of cutoff, and each cutoff is very crucial, and each cutoff is challenging. Like you said, they broke it into 3 parts of the race into 3 parts, 7, 7, 7. Then that's how they executed. But when we broke the race into pieces, and the way you broke it into, you made it, you further broke it into smaller pieces, it actually looked easy. To be frank, I never shared my race strategy until I executed with many of them. But there was this roommate of mine in Silk Route who was staying with us in Kyagar. This gentleman's name was Sandesh Agarwal. He has finished Silk Route last year. He was a Silk Route finisher. I was very fortunate to have him, quite fortunate to have him as my roommate. But to his bad luck, he had a back spasm, very bad back in the morning, and he was like, Sridhar sir, you take me to the finish line. I was like, sir, aap to khatam karke, you are coming for the second time. I should be saying that, but then he said, naine kuch to karke mujhe finish line tak, please stick to me or stick with me for the finish line. I was like, but then I showed this tabular format that you had given me. If I execute that, 19 or 50 minutes was the time that we would finish it in, which is like 2 hours before the cutoff. We were like super happy, or any day, the best possibility. But if any runner looks at that tabular format that you've given, I feel that it's a damn easy race, man. What are you talking? 122 kilometers is not a daunting task. Because that pace that we put across on breaking each of this milestone, makes it so simple. This is achievable. This is possible. Once we break down things into pieces, it seems so possible that this was approved by someone who is already finished. When I showed it to him, he's like, ये तो बहुत आसान दिख रहा है, execute कर सकते आराम से. I think now I'm confident. आपको छोड़ूंगा नहीं बाकी रेस में. And trust me, he was there with me for the rest of the race. And it worked. It worked absolutely. There is nothing. Each milestone that we planned, if you see my Garmin or Strava or the cutoffs that have been implemented by the race director, we have surpassed all of that as per this status, this Excel sheet and this
Actual
execution matched
exactly. So, what was the difference between planned and actual?
So, there are certain things that we missed out on. So, Ladakh has been ever on unpredictable climatic conditions. What I did not calculate was about so one thing is the cold weather, which we could not replicate in Bangalore.
Yeah, that's a miss.
Minus 3 degrees
never was part of our calculation.
Exactly.
I was calculating single digits.
Minus 3 or minus 4 or minus 2 was never anticipated throughout the race or throughout the training.
That's something was minus was never a part of our discussion.
Exactly. So minus was never part of it. The second thing that I missed out on was calculating on gels. Gels really played a vital role in the first portion of the run where the elevation graduates from 10,000, runs around with 10,000 to 10,500 feet. But as I started to increase, as ascend towards K-top, as the elevation started growing, the caffeinated gels played a very bad role. Bad in the sense, never thought I would start struggling to, and that really did not work. I could feel the palpitation going. Had I maybe I don't know if it is a good thing or not. Had I told it to some of the race management team, they would have pulled me off at 35th kilometer.
Yeah.
Because
That's the caffeine effect.
Caffeine effect. Luckily, I was aware that affects their caffeine affects in acclimatization. How does it? Because your heart is already pumping faster, and caffeine aggravates it. So it's a compound effect, and there is chance for AMS and a lot of other unforeseen circumstances where you may have to DNF. But luckily, I had at 32nd, 33rd kilometer, and then it went bad. And rest of my race, I had this track burning from here till here. It was continuously burning. I stopped taking electrolytes after that because electrolyte each time I take, it started pukish feeling and completely my track was in a burning sensation. My stomach was burning, kind of stuff. So I diluted it and then switched my nutrition part from gels to natural nutrition. Like I was lucky enough, fortunate to get boiled potatoes every 15-20 kilometers, kind of stuff. So each time I see a boiled potato, I was like, wow, I've got a delicacy from Bangalore. Or my favorite food, I've never had so much of potato in my life that I had it on. So I craved for potato, not an apple, not a banana, not a date. Potato milta, dip it in soil, hot potato, eat it. Eat one potato, two potato. That was only nutrition that suits my body at that particular point because I can't take an electrolyte because they had leaked there. I more depended on boiled potatoes, a little bit on dates. Lucky Chiki was there. Hot chips, a lot of potato chips, chips from hot chips, spicy ones. So each cutoff point I sat down, had chips, drank water, and then started moving. So that was.
Last couple of questions in terms of walk us through the entire race in terms of what was going through your mind and what was physically happening, because you spoke about strategy, etc. Right? So how you kept your focus, what was happening, how you took decisions to come across, overcome some issues you definitely would have faced. In 122, everybody will face some issues, physically and mentally.
Most of my training last 7 months was, at least 4 months was all alone. Because the kind of mileages that I had to clock, or it used to be a lonely journey because so mind was kind of set or mentally on mileages. Typically, I used to think random things. Always had a second thought about how will I run throughout the night without sleeping. So that was something that I went through. And 122 at a single time is another thing. And this is not a big race like Mumbai Marathon or Ladakh Marathon, in fact, where you'll have 500 to 1,000 people. Known faces saying hi, bye, or anything. This is all alone in the mountains. There is no street light, or this time we were unlucky that moonlight was also not there. Lucky that we could see Milky Way on the route, and everyone had, like I said, everyone had their own race strategy. No one expressed it explicitly, and from the start, only thing is ratta marna hai, a table that you have to, that was to be executed. I changed my watch into a kilometer kind of stuff, 1 kilometer at a time. So there was never like 122 kilometers. It was every kilometer you have to achieve. So come what may. There is nothing like itna kiya, utna karna hai. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं. This kilometer, this is how it has to be executed as per the prescription. So initially I had few friends to run with. 27 kilometers, it is supposed to be run. That's where I see, like we decided, this is the only phase saver for the entire race, where you can save an hour. That's where I saved 1 hour, 1 hour literally. And that's the crucial part of the entire race. So I took it slightly faster than prescribed, 10 by 10 seconds on each kilometer, because earlier day to the race was very breezy in Nubra Valley. It was pretty cold when we went out for a walk in the evening. So thinking that it would be the same, I had carried an extra down jacket. So that down jacket I pushed it into my bag, hydration pack, and then there was a wind cheater that they had given. Race offers you a wind cheater. So initially I didn't have a plan of running with a wind cheater or a jacket for the race, but having got no choice, said, "Chalo, we'll run with the race jacket." So proper execution for 27 kilometers, zero deviation. So these two races, what I've learned in Kardangla is, with previous experience, number one, don't talk much. Don't talk to anyone. Conserve energy, talk less. We were a team that started together, 3 or 4 of us. So I used to lead the pack and I used to tell that pothole. I show it down and they slow down. When we are running at 6:15, 6:10 pace, which was not necessary, then I said, slow down. So everyone slows down. So that contingent, that pack of people continued till where we were supposed to walk. I say, hold, and I stop walking, running. All of them stop running. Then we are fast walking. So that way, we executed, 4 of us executed to the dot till 27th kilometer. And one of them left us for various reasons, and 3 of us continued with them. And 27th kilometer ke baad, it was only walk. They had this thought of next 22 kilometers is very crucial, where the mountains will start coming in. You will start going from flats to elevation. So we saved 1 hour, exactly on dot 1 hour. As per plan, it was 3 hours 10 minutes. We finished it in 3 hours 1 minute. 3 hours actually. There we took a minute break to have potato and the rest of banana. Mr. Agarwal had this back spraying, and he got that spray and a little release, and then we kept walking. So this race, the recovery was always happening parallelly, because you're running and then starting to walk, and then you take minimal breaks, like minute at hydration points, and then walk again. So having seen the entire mountains in a daylight, it's always scary that, when you look at from Kardang Point into Nubra Valley is like this. At a point when you turn, your bus turns or your vehicle turns, and you see the valley like this, it's like, oh my God, tomorrow evening I have to run this. That was always scary. There were kilometers in this 22 kilometer mark. You're fed with at least this 22 kilometers. 18 kilometers, you're fed with the elevation of at least 45-50 meters of elevation every kilometer. And then that is something that you don't get in Bangalore other than Nandi Hills. It was lights failed. So we say, instead of 3 people turning on their headlights, because it's pitch dark, you can't see anything other than the stars in the sky, and roads are nothing. You can't literally see anything other than your headlamp. So instead of focusing lamp to the farther end, we had it right in front of our feet. Only thing is, it's like a donkey chasing a carrot. So from Kardangla to Kardang top is something crucial, that things start changing. Elevation, altitude, climatic conditions change from what we had been going through. We were expecting a little cold, it to be more colder. I never ran in gloves, but first 450 I had a pair of gloves. Thankfully, Sandeshji had extra pair of gloves he gave me. For Kardang to Kardangla, we had to upgrade our entire clothing, because it's going to be colder. I changed my gloves to a thicker gloves, from a wind cheater to a down jacket, and moved in. And then wind cheater was also as a backup, was there in my thing. from a regular cap to a double cap with which covering my ears and bandana covering my nose. So things were changing. I had to change, and then breathing was slightly difficult with bandana because the cold breeze was much different at this juncture. So we kept moving, and we started seeing ourselves slowing down after 60-65 kilometers. By the time we reached North Kulu, we started feeling that fatigue has started coming in. This is because of not being able to sleep for the entire night and already crossing the entire route by run, walk, or whatever it is, and lesser energy.
Yeah, you didn't have food also.
Not much of food in the system. So we thought instead of executing a idea was to execute a 10 and a half, 11 and a half pace. So कुछ तो discount दे देंगे. Instead of initial calculation after Khartoum was to reach K-top if we can maintain the same pace that we maintained till Khartoum. If I'm able to maintain as per previous year's calculations, I would reach K-top by 7:45, an hour compared to our plan.
Yeah.
But that was not practically possible. Body was not in my control. And as we started reaching North Kulu, it started getting colder. It was much worse. Where we started witnessing people DNF surrendering to and saying, I'm quitting the race. Strong runners saying, I'm moving out of the race. Please pick me up. And we could see them calling for race team to pick them up. And this is first of its incidents that we've come across where someone says, I'm surrendering. I'm not doing it. It's like, Arey yaar, this is something that we have to keep ourselves. We are not going to give up because it was cold and a lot of them had run pretty fast in the first, like us, they have also run. The challenge that I foresee is they have not changed, like we've moved from a wind cheater to a down jacket. They didn't do that. They continued with the same attack. So maybe that didn't help them continue with the race. But looking at that, we thought, let us be extra cautious. Let us not calculations rework karenge. We'll reach K-top a little slower. That's okay. So then, yeah, we had black tea whenever possible, warm water and black tea as source of energy. Because 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, nothing was going in. Body was not accepting.
Yeah.
And that's where your potty cycle comes into play. And abhi aa gaya to us stunt mein, so a lot of things. So we went moderate on foot for next 20 kilo, 18, 16 kilometers. We waited for sun to come out. We were kind of slow. Instead of 10 and a half, 11 pace, we went on to 13, 12 and a half pace intentionally. And then we moved 1 kilometer ahead. And while 6 kilometers before K-top, we could see sunlight, bright sunlight, and it was comforting at that point. It was quite comforting. Same time, it was tiring. We had drained our energy. We were almost 12 hours, 13 hours into the race, and we mentally, because challenge was not about us. These Ladakhi kids were much faster. Their race cutoff is 20 hours and they start at 9 o'clock in. And while we were crossing North Kulu, these kids were sitting and chit-chatting there and having black tea. Because they've already run and come there and they're sitting and chit-chatting and we were like struggling to walk and like, you know that sir, he DNF'd at 50th kilometer. You know that madam, she couldn't cross 55th kilometer. They was like, "Arey bhai, enough of your encouragement." That started playing a lot because they're more telling about DNF stories than people who quit, and that was scary because whomever they were speaking of were excellent runners and much stronger runners than three of us. अभी इनका बात सोचना नहीं है. So we stopped hearing all these guys and continued moving. And towards the top, we started feeling quite exhausted. I found someone sitting and sleeping. I thought this is a nice idea.
Good idea.
So good idea. So I used to walk very fast, quite fast. Walk up to a place where you find a flat rock on the side. You sit there like this and sleep for a minute. 1, 2, 3. You count. Sandeshji and Shika used to come comfortably, and then I initially they used to come and stand next to me, and I used to wake up and then start walking fast again. Gradually, we started thinking towards the top. They also started sitting with me, and then, तू count करेगा, मैं count कर. 30 seconds. We used to literally count, coach. 1, 2. This was micro power naps, I call. And each time we woke up after 40, 50 seconds, though we were not sleeping sound or something like that, psychologically giving a break for 40 seconds, literally not doing anything, and that really helped for last 6 kilometers reaching K-top mentally and physically. Because a lot of people were struggling. There were people lying on the road to recover and then get up again. That was quite healing on the mental stage. And we are 80 kilometers into the race, and अभी तो इतना मेहनत करने के बाद I don't want to give. So it's okay to take a little break and then move forward. Once we kind of seen K-top, it was like another 400, 500 meters. It was like, wow, it's like long awaited thing come together. We reached K-top and then relaxed for some time. I literally spent 25 minutes there, enjoying the only motivation on the route is garlic soup that you get. I think K-top. Army Jawans serve excellent garlic soup there. Very tasty garlic soup. Because last 14 hours you've not had anything. We reached at, say, 8 hours, 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:45 in the morning. Next 20 minutes we spent sitting there taking photos, because rest of the tourism timing, the Kardungla rock is crowded. This is somewhere where no one is there around that rock. We went, that nameplate, we went, took some photos, sat there, had soup, then got into my bus, changed my down jackets and moved into a basic multi-layer t-shirts and then a fully covered cap. Chips. I had 8 chips, shared with some others, and whatever leftover chips I gave it to the bus driver and saying that this is a local delicacy from Bangalore, better enjoy. Then we had, when I moved out of Kardungla top, it was like we had 8 hours in buffer, 8, 9 hours, 14 hours into the race, which is like 8 hours into the race, we had that buffer. And I thought, at least now, coach had given me 1950. I think I'll finish it 1925 was the mindset. 1925, 1930. That was the mindset. What I didn't realize is, as per the plan, first 3-4 kilometers was to walk, because you'll start losing altitude. These 3 kilometers was intentionally dug up by Bro, because ice capping would happen and slippery to avoid slippery. Most of the time, tops are always dug, excavated. So rough patches. So until that rough patch is done, we walked, and then after that, when I started running, I started realizing that my left shin was kind of sore, and both my heels, my calf had given. Achilles, I had this Achilles tendon for the earlier. Achilles, both the heels were pretty bad. Bad in the sense I could not run. Running is ruled out. I tried running for some distance of 500 meters, and it was so painful that if I continue further, maybe by 88, 89, I would be in it. I tried stretching it there. I stretched my glutes, hamstrings, soleus, nothing. Soleus was so sore that usko touch mat karo, because sometimes while stretching soleus, the chances of calf getting stuck there and blocking there, then no point in limping for 40 kilometers. Then I said, I'm not running anymore. Then after 3-4 kilometers, I started gaining more confidence. It was much easier because there is no more uphill.
Yeah.
Mentally, there was no more uphill. This is all illusion. Huh? You have downhills which cannot be run.
Yeah.
And all these flats are not flats. There is uphill. So I took it easy, and then met a lot of runners from previous Kardungla challenge. A lot of Bangalore. Social media is wide, and a lot of known faces. you start conversing, you start talking to people, you enjoy at every aid station, eat potato, and then keep moving forward. So that way, rest of the course was quite simple. I calculated 35, 37 kilometers. The idea was to run in 6 hours. 6 hours as per plan. At a pace of 7:30 on a moderate pace, 35, 36 kilometers. Then I said, I cannot run now. What am I going to do? So 9:30 pace is something I have to test. 9:30 to 10 pace I have to test. If I'm able to maintain this 9:30 to 10 pace, I would be slower by 2 minutes per kilometer, which is like 80 minutes per kilometer. As per your calculation, it's like sub 21 hours. I would have done in 19 hours 50 minutes. If I'm not able to do it, another 40 minutes will add up to my existing 40 to 80 minutes will add up to my existing mileage. It's okay. Then I managed with that, and my calculation, it was like 21 hours in niche hoga. 21 hours for 20 hours 45 minutes would be your tentative time. I was fine with it, and I was clear. I'm not going to take any chance of running, or now the Herculean task is done. Only walk for another 30-40 kilometers. That would be easy. I continued maintaining 1 kilometer at a time, like the same stretch. 192, 9:30, 9:45 pace I was able to manage. And after mode, I had a friend from Bangalore who joined me. He didn't have any time target in mind. All of us continued till the finish line. And once I entered town, this time I was less emotional. Last year I was crying when I entered. I was literally crying entering into Leh market. But yeah, this year I was emotional because I've lost a lot of friends in last 3-4 months or last 6 months. That was always running in mind. It could be me. It could be me. Yeah, seriously, coach. When I started getting into town, I was like, oh my God, last 4 kilometers. It was more than the moment was not about happiness to finish, but the moment was like, oh my, I am alive. And nothing happened. Well, I was lucky that nothing happened. And the 6 months of losing friends, fit friends losing in this journey, that was always daunting. And every morning they used to haunt me. It could be you, okay. So that thought, and all these friends who wished me all the best, and it was comforting, but more. They were bringing in more fear into me than they were making me more anxious. Last 3 days was an emotional roller coaster ride. Each time they call and say, "Arey, to finish career, mat kar. I want you to be alive after. You better come alive in a single piece." That was, my God, mentally. A lot of time I broke down. There are friends who have witnessed it and seen me tears roll out of my eyes quite often. But that was something that was like, oh my God, I am alive. I am alive. So, but as a ritual, last 2 kilometers is always, I save energy. Coach always used to mention, it's not about how you start the race. It's about how you continue throughout the race and end it. Not tilting towards one side. If you remember, coach, I said, last May, you should be struggling to finish, or you should be crawling to the finish line. I should finish it strong. So that, 35-40 kilometers of not running helped me get into that. As the finish line is like a different feeling. And it took time for me to, after finish line, knowing that whoever has DNF, it's not just hard work, and luck also played a vital role, because this is a race. Certain things are not in your control.
Yes.
I've seen strong runners DNF in 20th kilometer, 63rd kilometer, 93rd kilometer. Various reasons. AMS, you can't train for AMS. So I was very lucky that way. Finishing it strong, standing and chit-chatting. My wife was there at the finish line. I could hug her very strongly. Yeah. That was the entire
Good.
experience.
So, Thanks for walking us through the entire race. And 3 things you will tell anybody who's going to attempt it next year.
So these trainings are not like any other regular marathon trainings. A lot of people, because in ultra running, we talk about fatigue training. And, it's not just about fatigue training. Cracking more miles or more kilometers on a weekly basis doesn't really help. Running on the hills or running distances on elevation doesn't really help here. This is more has to be done strategically, or like we had planned. Speed was something that I never saw it when it was coming in, when I signed up for this race. But when you said speed is something that is needed for this, it's not just about endurance that is needed in this race. It's both endurance and speed that is needed, which I've never, had I trained alone, I would have never thought in this direction, but it really helped. So maybe as a seasoned runner or as a runner having run multiple marathons or ultra marathons, we sometimes oversee this aspect and then fall prey at the race. Because these races are something that we don't, unlike any marathon, you register for 3,000 flight to Mumbai or Hyderabad or Delhi and then run the race and come back. If it is a DNF, next year we go back and not a satisfactory race, you go back and attempt it again. It doesn't end up at 10 or 20,000. These races need time, 7 months of training or 8 months of training, a lot of money, time, energy, family time, a lot of sacrifice on the family front, office front, monetary as well. In spite of that, not just the 6 kilometers, 6 months or 7 months of training, 1 week, 10 days of time spent in Leh is something that's quite crucial. We spend up, and because we are not trained rightly, we may end up, there is a lot of mentoring needed from a guidance perspective, from a coach who can take us through or think the way it has to be thought through. Sometimes we may miss out. Most of the aspects were covered here, and the way it was broken down and spoon fed for me, it made it simple and look easy. But had I been there, I would have been jogging or running like any other friend of mine who had planned that way. Maybe we would have finished, but maybe tilted on one side or struggling, crawling to the finish line to 21 hours, 50 minutes kind of a time, which was not necessary. When we are putting so much of efforts, I would rather suggest to go with a coach or a coaching training.
Somebody to look from outside
and think in that perspective. So at least that self-coaching thought can be removed out of someone. It can be outsourced. It can be outsourced rather than why do you want to break your body and mind as well? It can be outsourced and someone can take care of it. That's one thing. And the second thing is like a lot of people, this is, I don't know, with my experience, Leh, I would not advise runners to come there and daily run 10 kilometers towards the race, especially ultras. All you need to do is, we have trained enough here. All you need to do is stay put there, acclimatize in a different. Don't do anything. I have a friend who had AMS on 4th day of reaching out to Leh, and he could not even attempt the race. Yeah. So chances, after all these efforts, why do you want to take a chance? Struggle at the race, kind of stuff. I would suggest you stay put. Don't get carried away with a lot of people running around there in Leh. An advice, if you like it, you can take it, but not needed. We have trained enough here. All there is like, you have to acclimatize better and then stay put, stay calm. Best is all on the race day. Have some fresh legs and fresh body. You're there.
Yes. Hopefully, people will listen to you, take a lot of information from there, and then attempt. And like you said, it's costly. And if you want to attempt it with open eyes. Right? Chalo, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.